So you just got out of the open house. You loved it. You thought it was perfect. You're ready to pack your bags and move in tomorrow. But here's what you need to ask your buyer's agent. The buyer's agent is there to guide you through this home buying process. If they're a good agent, they must have already seen hundreds, if not thousands of houses. They should be able to spot some red flags that you may or may not have looked over. So here's what you need to ask them. You might think the first question you should ask is this house at a good price? The price is actually one of the last questions you should ask. And here's why. There are so many conditions that can impact price. So you want to get through those conditions and ask about them first. The first question you should ask is, did the realtor notice any potential problems? Just a couple weeks ago, I actually took a look at a single family house that was advertised as recently renovated. And yeah, on the surface, it looked like it was renovated. So I went in to check and saw that the kitchen was redone, the bathroom was redone, everything was modernized. And it looked pretty good. But as I was walking through the kitchen, I noticed the corner of the countertop was kind of doing something like this. In the corner of the kitchen, I saw where the backsplash and the countertop meet. You're usually supposed to have a line of silicone to waterproof that area so that water doesn't drip behind the countertop. That silicone was ripping. It looked like the countertop itself was tilting. Now you might be thinking, well, silicone ripped a little, that's not a big deal, right? Well, to me, that can be a big deal because that can mean that there's movement there. And countertops and cabinets should not be moving. If there's movement, that means maybe the house settled a bit or something like that. So after I noticed this issue, it prompted me to take a deeper and closer look at everything else in the house. As I was walking through it, I saw that there were little cracks on the wall. And it looked like this wall was recently painted, so there should be no reason that it's already cracking. It's moving somehow, and that should not be happening. So I went online and went onto the Department of Buildings website to take a look at if the homeowner had taken any permits out. You know, maybe find out a little bit more about this renovation. I saw that there were no permits. That means that either the homeowner did a massive DIY project or they hired unlicensed contractors. Either way, the work seemed very shoddy. Definitely something that I don't want to get myself into because you don't really know what else is wrong. You know, they could have done some shoddy plumbing work and then 3 months after you moved in, your toilet starts backing up. Definitely not something I want to deal with. You should definitely hire a home inspector before purchasing any house, but if you have an experienced realtor, they can see the problem, let you know, and save you the time and money from hiring the home inspector. The next question you want to ask is if the house has any violations on it. Depending if there are any violations on the house, it could be a deal breaker. You know, some violations are very minor little things that don't really matter. You can just pay the fine and just clear it out. But some of them are massive issues and stuff you want to steer clear of. So for instance, I've seen houses where there's been violations for a neighbor complaining that there's too much trash in your yard, and then the city sends somebody to inspect your yard. They find that there is too much trash on the yard. So they just write you a violation, tell you to clean it up, and then you pay a fine. Now, violations like that are nothing. It doesn't really matter at all. Now, I have seen other violations, such as there was an explosion across the street and the debris shot towards the house, cracked the windows, and now there's a violation to have the homeowner do the repairs and make sure that the house is structurally sound. That is definitely something you want to steer clear of. The third question would be, is everything about this property legal? So you must be noticing a pattern here. These questions are basically all meant to help you steer clear of problems and headaches in the future or even lose a lot of money. You definitely want to ask these questions so you can find these issues out before you go into contract. Now, when I say legal, I don't mean like with somebody doing drugs in the garage or something. What I mean is that structure that you're buying right now what the city has on file? The city might have on file that this property is a single family house, 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and 1 garage. Now, when you're in the open house, the house might have been 4 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and there's 2 garages. You definitely want to find out if this place was illegally modified in any way. Things like that are actually pretty common in New York. For instance, last month, I went to look at a house. It was a 3-family house, 3 floors, no garages. All 3 floors were 2-bedroom apartments. Now, I wanted to dig deeper into this house because I was thinking of buying it for myself, so I wanted to know everything about it. So I went to the Department of Buildings and took a look at the blueprints and also the certificate of occupancy. When I was looking at the certificate of occupancy, yes, this was a 3-family house, but there was a 2-car garage that somehow I didn't see. So now I'm thinking to myself, what happened to the garage? So I started digging through the blueprints and found out that the first floor was actually illegally modified. Now, when I went to look at it, it was a 2-bedroom apartment down there. It seemed like the previous owner had illegally modified the garage and added that garage to the house as living space. Now, that's a big issue because if the city comes knocking and finds out that there's no garage, well, they can force you to tear down that addition, restore it back to a garage, and hit you with a $15,000 fine. So now you have a smaller apartment, and also you have to pay a huge fine, and you have to pay for the work. You definitely want to do your research, and a good realtor will be able to help you with that. The 4th question you want to ask is, how is the property going to be delivered? If you're buying a single family house, you definitely want to make sure that it can be delivered vacant. What if the landlord had leased this apartment out with a 2-year lease to somebody and they don't want to leave? Well, technically they don't have to leave. The owner can sell it and then you can't move in until the lease is over. You definitely don't want to deal with something like that. Now, if you are buying a multifamily house, say a 2 or 3 family house, you don't want to inherit any bad tenants. This is a little shady, but some homeowners might have an issue with the tenant's not paying, and then the owner tries to sell the house. They'll tell you that these tenants are great and blah blah blah, like these are the best people. I'm fairly certain this happened to me last week. I went to look at a house for a buddy of mine. He was interested in buying a 2-family house. The owner lived in 1 floor and they had a tenant on the 2nd floor. As I was heading there, I got stuck in traffic and I actually missed the exit as well, which made me fairly late to the appointment. So my friend actually needed to go, so he went in, took a look at the house, and then left. After that, he told me he was very interested in the house, so I really wanted to get in there and take a look for myself and see if I noticed anything. So I got there a little late and saw that the agent was still there. He actually had a showing after my friend and he was about to leave that one, so I went and asked if I can take a quick look at it. So he told me that, these tenants are a little sensitive. I don't think I can show you the 2nd floor, but the owners are still there and you can definitely still see the 1st floor. So I'm thinking, that's a little bit weird, but okay. So I went and took a look at the house and I didn't really see anything wrong with it. It looked like a really nice house. It was newly renovated 2 years ago and the house looked very clean and modern. But I wanted to ask about the tenants. So I asked if the property was going to be delivered vacant. I was informed that the tenants actually just moved in 3 months ago and they had the lease until the next year, the end of June. So I asked a little bit more about the tenants. So the homeowners are like, oh, this tenant is the best tenant. They pay on time all the time. We're very friendly with them. No issues at all. They're very quiet. They're very nice people. These are the best tenants in the world. You would be so blessed to find tenants like these. And I was again reassured by the agent that yes, these tenants are great, amazing. But that just gave me a really off feeling. Why would the tenants not allow me to just take a 2-minute look at the house afterward? It wasn't late at night, it was around 6:30. They actually just finished showing the house to somebody, so it's not like they're specifically letting me in. They actually had this time blocked out to show the apartment to people. The homeowner was also being very insistent that this person is amazing and blah 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 blah. To me, there must be something wrong with this tenant. They must not have good relations, because the homeowner told me that this person is cooperative, they're angels. If the tenant was so cooperative, then the homeowners could have easily offered maybe 1 or 2 months of rent for the tenant to move out. The house asking price was $975,000, and I was told the rent was $2,000 a month. So if the homeowner offered the cooperative tenants maybe $4,000 or something, I wouldn't see a reason why the tenant couldn't move out and have this close as vacant. To me, that was just a bad sign that this tenant probably wasn't very cooperative, and my friend might have inherited an issue if he bought this house. Next, you want to ask about if the seller has any specific terms. Now, the buyer's agent should have talked to the selling agent about whether there's any conditions that need to be met. For instance, some sellers might not want to sell their house to somebody who's getting an FHA loan because they think that the loan has a lot of issues. There's too many inspections and there's too many things that need to get approved. So if you are trying to purchase this house with an FHA loan, then you definitely want to know that before you put in your offer so you don't waste your time. Or if, say, the seller is moving out in 2 weeks and they're going to be outside of the country and they need a cash buyer who can close tomorrow. Something like that. You know, that's an extreme example, but something like that could happen. So you definitely want to find out if the seller has any conditions. Now, finally, we talk about the price. Now, to wrap everything up, you want to ask the buyer's agent, is this property priced well? Are you getting a good deal for this house? Say there was the issue with the countertop and the work was not so good. But if the house is selling at, say, a $50,000 discount off the market value, then you can work something out, you know. If you have to redo the kitchen or something, it's not going to cost $50,000. So it might be worth it for you at that point. Or for example, there's a violation, there's a $10,000 fine on it, and you have to fix the fence in your backyard or something. If the seller is selling the house at $30,000 less than the market value, then something like that's not really a big deal, right? That's why you really need to take account the condition of the property, what issues need to be resolved before you talk about the price. Now, once you find out all these things, then you're ready to submit your offer. Well, that's that, guys. Those are the questions that you need to ask your realtor before putting in the offer. Now, if you want to know about how you can find a good realtor and the questions that you need to ask the realtor before hiring them, I'm going to make a video about that, and I'm going to put the link right here. So please like this video if you found it helpful, subscribe if you want to see more, and have a great day.